every night just as the world quiets down. That's when the noise in our heads can get overwhelmingly loud. We've all been there lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, trapped in a loop of endless thoughts about what we did wrong today and what tomorrow might bring. It's exhausting, isn't it? Well, you're not alone in this mental maraudon. Overthinking is like having an itch you can't scratch, and it can steal away both your night's sleep and your daytime peace. But what if I told you there's a way to quiet those noisy thoughts? Today we dive deep into the wisdom of Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that's as practical today as it was thousands of years ago. This isn't just about historical concepts. It's about real tools that can help us lead a calmer, more focused life. So if you're tired of your mind spinning out of control, stick with me. Let's explore how these age-old strategies can bring us peace and clarity in our chaotic world. If you appreciate what we're doing here and want to keep up with more insights like these, do me a simple free favor. Hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to skip any part of this video. Every moment is packed with value to help you quiet the noise in your mind. Lesson 1: Action over analysis. You know those moments when you're just sitting there, your mind racing with a million what-ifs and maybes before you know it. Hours have slipped by, and you've gotten absolutely nowhere. That's what we're tackling here. Stoicism teaches us a powerful antidote to this: paralysis by analysis, prioritizing action over endless thought. Think about the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius, who said the secret of all victory lies in the organization of the non-obvious. Marcus was not just about thinking things through. He was about doing things that make a real impact. So how do we apply this? It starts with recognizing that actio inherently moves us forward, whereas overthinking often spirals us into stagnatio. Have you ever noticed that when you finally decide to take even a small step forward, it's like a weight lifts off your shoulders? That's because action is liberating. It breaks the chains of procrastination and doubt. Here's a personal story. I once had an idea for a project. I spent weeks just thinking about it, planning every detail in my head. But guess what? It never went anywhere. Because I was too caught up trying to make it perfect. I was stuck in analysis paralysis. The moment I started to take actio, even small actions like jotting down notes or discussing the idea with a friend, things began to shift. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. The Stoics believe that while we control our actions, we don't always control the outcomes. By focusing on what we can do right now, we reduce the overwhelm of trying to control every possible future scenario, which, let's be honest, is impossible. Each action you take teaches you something new, brings fresh insights, and yes, sometimes new challenges, but always movement. Every step you take is a learning opportunity, a chance to adapt and adjust. And here's something else to consider. Action feeds confidence. Each time you act, you prove to yourself that you can move beyond your fears. You build momentum. And suddenly, what seemed impossible starts to look achievable. In Stoicism, there's a lot of emphasis on living according to nature. And it's only natural to learn and grow from what we do. Oh, just from what we think. So what's more action can you take today? Maybe it's making that phone call you've been putting off, sending an email, or just organizing your workspace. It doesn't have to be a giant leap. Tiny steps are still steps. The key is to keep moving. Don't let your thoughts hold you back. As Seneca said, it is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. By embracing the Stoic way of valuing action over analysis, we empower ourselves to live more fully, more bravely, and with a clear sense of directio. So let's put those plans into actio. Let's make things happen. You'll be amazed at how much more you can achieve when you shift from overthinking to doing. Lesson 2: You're not that special. This idea comes straight from Stoic teachings, particularly from Marcus Aurelius, who often reminded himself in his meditations to keep his ego in check. He wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This was a reminder to focus on what truly matters, without getting caught up in one's own self-importance. So why is realizing that you're not that special actually a good thing? It's about understanding that the world doesn't revolve around our actions as much as we think it does. Most people are far too busy dealing with their own lives to be overly concerned with what we're doing. Grasping this fully is a game changer, because it means you can stop overthinking how you're perceived. Have you ever hesitated to post something online because you were worried about what people would think? Or maybe you've been afraid to start a new project or go after a job because you feared criticism or failure, believing everyone would notice and judge you. Here's a Stoic wake-up call. Most people won't even remember it a few days later. Everyone else is too busy navigating their own challenges. This doesn't mean your actions don't matter, or that you shouldn't strive to do your best. It simply means you can breathe a little easier, knowing that one mistake won't be the focal point of everyone's attentio. This concept helps strip away the illusio that everyone is watching and judging our every move. A common trap that feeds overthinking and anxiety. It's freeing, isn't it, to realize that you can go about your life, make your choices, and even slip up now and the world won't come crashing down. You get to experiment later and live without the heavy weight of perceived constant scrutiny. Here's where Stoicism helps us cement this concept. It teaches us humility and the importance of focusing on self-improvement for its own sake, not for applause or fear of criticism. Marcus Aurelius believed in leading a life of virtue and being true to oneself, living for external validatio. So the next time you find yourself overthinking how others might perceive your actions, remember this lesso. You're not that special in the eyes of the world, and that's a good thing. It means you're free to live your life more fully, authentically, and without undue concern over every little judgment. This isn't about diminishing your value. It's about realizing that the spotlight isn't always on you. And that's a relief. Use that space to focus on what truly matters to you. Engage with your real passions and let the trivial worries go. Lesson 3. Comparison is the thief of joy. When we constantly compare ourselves to others, whether it's their successes, looks, or even their social media posts, we set ourselves up for unhappiness. It's like measuring our life's worth against a yardstick that keeps changing, depending on who we're comparing ourselves to at the moment. The Stoics were adamant about focusing on what's within our control, and other people's lives are definitely not within our control. As Epictetus famously said, focus on what you can control and let go of what you cannot. When you spend your energy focusing on others, you're wasting a precious resource. You're focused on what you cannot change or influence. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're having a really good day. You're feeling proud of what you've accomplished, whether it's big or small. Then you hop on Instagram or Facebook and suddenly see someone else's highlight. Real vacations, perfect homes, achievements. Instantly your own victories don't feel quite as significant anymore. That's the trap of comparison. What the Stoics teach us is to anchor our self-worth in our own values and progress not in comparison to others. This isn't just about feeling better. It's about fundamentally shifting how we view success and happiness. It's about seeking internal validation rather than external approval. When you live by this principle, you shift your perspective from competition to personal growth. It's liberating, really. When you stop comparing, you start appreciating your own journey. With all its ups and downs, you begin to see your life as a unique path, not a race against someone else's milestones. This mindset allows you to celebrate your own successes without the shadow of someone else's achievements dimming your light. If you can train yourself to shift your thinking from comparison to self-reflection, you'll find the joy comes more naturally. You'll start to recognize the blessings in your own life without feeling the need to stack them up against anyone else's. So the next time you catch yourself falling into the comparison trap, take a step back. Remind yourself that your value is not defined by how you stack up against others, but by how you live according to your own principles and efforts. Redirect that energy back to your personal goals and growth. Trust me, this is a game changer in conquering overthinking and finding true happiness in your own unique journey. Lesson for perfection is a myth. The pursuit of perfection can be a relentless drive that ironically leads not to success, but to increased dissatisfaction and paralysis. When we set unattainable standards for ourselves, every small mistake or setback can feel like a catastrophic failure. It's a recipe for constant stress and chronic overthinking. The Stoic philosophers understood this well. They taught that striving for perfection, in the traditional sense flawless and complete, is not only unrealistic but also unnecessary. Seneca put it this way: we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. He was pointing out that our pursuit of an imagined state of perfection causes far more distress than the actual imperfections of life. Think about that for a moment. How oft have you agonized over getting something just right, only to realize that the effort was causing you more anxiety than the results warranted? Stoicism invites us to embrace imperfection, not as a flaw but as a fundamental part of being human. By accepting that we are inherently imperfect, we can free ourselves from the impossible expectations that bind us and cause endless cycles of overthinking. This doesn't mean we shouldn't strive to improve or grow. Quite the opposite. It means recognizing improvement as a process, one that is ongoing and filled with lessons learned from mistakes and missteps. Imagine if you could approach a new project or skill with the mindset that mistakes are not only expected, but are actually valuable. How much more willing would you be to start something new, to innovate, and to take risks? This is the freedom that rejecting the myth of perfection offers. The Stoic approach teaches us that every imperfection is an opportunity to learn. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances actio. What stands in the way becomes the way." He's telling us that obstacles, imperfections, and setbacks are not just hurdles to overcome. They are integral parts of the journey that push us to grow and improve. So as we move forward, let's shift our focus. Instead of aiming for perfection, let's aim for progress. Let's celebrate both the small victories and the big ones, knowing that each step forward is valuable. Let's learn to see the beauty in the imperfect, because it is the imperfections that make our experiences rich and our lives genuinely authentic. Let go of the myth of perfectio, and you'll find that not only are you reducing overthinking, but you're also opening up a whole world of possibilities where growth is a joy, not a bird. Lesson 5: Your emotions are not your reality. It's easy to get swept away by our feelings, but it's crucial to remember that our emotional responses don't always represent the truth of our situations. Stoicism teaches us that emotions, while a natural part of the human experience, should not dictate our decisions or perceptions of reality. This idea is deeply rooted in the teachings of Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, who advised us to take a step back and examine our impressions, asking ourselves if they are based on fact or if we're letting our emotions color our judgment. He famously said, "You have power over your mind." Outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed by emotion. Maybe you were anxious about a big meeting or upset over a disagreement with a friend. In those moments, our emotions can feel all-consuming, as if they define our entire reality. But here's the thing: emotions are transient. They come and go, and they can deceive us into overestimating the significance of what we're feeling in the moment. This Stoic lesson isn't about suppressing your emotions. Rather, it's about not letting them control you. It's about achieving a level of detachment where you can acknowledge your feelings without letting them cloud your judgment. This is what the Stoics mean when they talk about living a life of virtue, responding to life's challenges with reason, rather than being led by emotio. Let's say you're feeling really down because you didn't get a job you interviewed for. Your initial emotional response might be to think you're not good enough or that you'll never find a job you love. But if you take a moment to step back and apply reason, you might see that this rejection is an opportunity to explore other options or improve your interviewing skills. By letting your initial emotions dictate your reality, you open yourself up to more constructive and proactive paths. Practicing this can start simply. The next time you find yourself getting emotionally charged, take a breath and ask yourself, is my reaction based on reality or my interpretation of the situation? Is there another way to view this? Often just taking this moment can prevent you from spiraling into negative overthinking and help you approach situations more rationally. Epic teachers taught, it's not the events themselves that disturb us, but our view of them. By changing our perspective and questioning the validity of our emotional responses, we can change how we experience life's ups and downs. This doesn't mean ignoring our feelings. It means managing them in a way that allows us to respond with wisdom and clarity. Lesson 6: Detach from outcomes. Stoicism teaches us that much of our distress comes from clinging too tightly to outcomes we can't control. The Stoics emphasize the importance of distinguishing between what is within our control and what lies outside it. While we can influence outcomes, we can't control them entirely. Epic teachers famously said, some things are in our control and others not. This simple truth is at the heart of Stoic calm and resilience. Think about when you're working on a project or striving toward a personal goal. If you focus solely on the outcome, every minor setback can feel like a major disaster. This fixation can lead to constant stress and disappointment Because outcomes are often influenced by variables we can neither predict nor manage. But what if you shifted your focus from the outcome to the effort itself? Imagine the freedom and satisfaction of knowing that your self-worth isn't tied to the results of your actions, but to the quality and intention behind them. This is what it means to detach from outcomes. It's not about not caring about results. It's about not being defined by them. Let's apply this to something relatable, like starting a new diet or fitness routine. If you fixate solely on losing a specific amount of weight within a certain time frame, you're setting yourself up for frustration and potential failure instead. If you focus on developing healthier eating habits or enjoying your workouts, you shift your attention to the process. You start to appreciate the daily improvements in your energy and mood, direct results of your actions and things you can control. The weight loss then becomes a beneficial side effect, not the sole measure of your success. This approach builds resilience. When outcomes aren't the ultimate focus, setbacks become less intimidating. They're just part of the journey, opportunities to learn and adjust. This mindset fosters sustainable motivation because it's rooted in what you're doing right now, not in a distant, possibly elusive goal. Moreover, detaching from outcomes allows you to be more present and engaged in the task at hand. It enhances your performance because you're focused on the action itself, not distracted by anxiety over the results. Ironically, this can lead to better outcomes because you're operating from a place of engagement and authenticity, not fear and attachment. So as we move forward, let's put this into practice. Focus on your actions, live according to your values, and do your best in each moment. Trust that by doing this, the outcomes will take care of themselves, one way or another, as Marcus Aurelius said. Just that you do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter. It's a freeing way to live. Drastically reducing overthinking and unnecessary stress. Lessen the present moment is all you have. It's easy to get caught up in regrets about the past or worries about the future. However, Stoicism teaches us that the only real time we have control over is the present. Marcus Aurelius, a staunch advocate of this idea, wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." His message is simple yet deeply significant. The past is untouchable and the future is uncertain. But the present is where we live our lives. Think about how often your thoughts drift to what has been or what's to come. It could be dwelling on an argument you had last week or fretting over an upcoming deadline. These thoughts aren't just distracting. They're draining. They pull you out of the here and now, reducing your ability to focus on what you're actually doing and diminishing both your effectiveness and happiness. Embracing the present moment means actively focusing on what's happening right now. This doesn't mean ignoring the lessons of the past or failing to plan for the future. Instead, it's about not letting those considerations overpower your current experience. It's about balancing awareness, avoiding letting one aspect overwhelmingly distract from another. Let's say you're spending time with a friend, but you're mentally rehearsing a work presentation for tomorrow. By not being fully present, you miss out on the richness of the interaction. And ironically, you're also not effectively preparing for your presentation. Scattered focus rarely leads to quality outcomes. If you consciously choose to engage fully with your friend, you'll enrich that experience. Often you'll find your mind clearer and better prepared. When it's time to shift your attention back to work, Practicing presence can start with something as simple as mindful breathing. When your mind darts to the past or jumps ahead to the future, take a few deep breaths and ground yourself in the moment. Notice the sights, sounds, smells, the air on your ski, and the ground beneath your feet. This isn't just about grounding yourself physically. It's about reminding yourself that life happens in the Stoic practice of mindfulness and presence. Also encourages gratitude. When you're fully present, you're more likely to notice small joys and victories you might otherwise overlook. This deepens your appreciation for life as it is, not as you think it should be or fear it might become. So as we move forward, let's bring our attention back to the present, whenever it strays. Every moment spent worrying about the past or the future is a moment lost. The present is your reality, the stage on which you can act. Marcus Aurelius urged us to live with vigor and purpose, in the present, not passively, but as active participants, shaping our lives moment by moment. By embracing the present, we embrace life itself. We handle stress better, enjoy our experiences more fully, and live with a sense of peace that comes from truly living. Just existing. This powerful Stoic lesson not only reduces overthinking, but enriches our entire existence. Let's make the most of now, for it's all we truly have.